buy your own food, stop living off us. My father said it while I was standing in the kitchen with a grocery bag, cutting into my fingers. For a second, I honestly thought I had heard him wrong. The kitchen went strangely quiet. Even the refrigerator seemed louder than usual, humming behind me while my mother stood at the stove pretending to be interested in the soup she was stirring. My younger brother, Daniel, sat at the breakfast counter scrolling through his phone, but I saw the corner of his mouth lift. My father leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. "I'm serious, Emma," he said. "You're 29 years old. You have a job. You should be able to feed yourself." I looked down at the groceries in my hand. 2 cartons of milk, eggs, vegetables, chicken, coffee. The things I had bought because my mother had texted me that morning asking me to pick them up on my way home. I slowly placed the bag on the counter. "I bought these for everyone." My father gave a short laugh. "There you go again. Always making yourself the victim." "I'm not making myself anything." "Then stop acting like this house owes you something." The words landed harder than I expected. This house. The house I had helped pay for. The house where I had spent the last 6 years working 2 jobs, covering bills whenever my father said the business was slow, buying groceries when my mother's arthritis made shopping difficult, and quietly transferring money into my parents' account every month. I had never kept a record of any of it. That was my mistake. Because when you love your family, you don't think of helping them as a debt. You think of it as love. My father picked up his coffee. "If you want to eat, buy your own food. We're not running a charity." Daniel finally looked up. "Dad, you should put that on a t-shirt." He laughed. My mother glanced at him but said nothing. I stared at the 3 of them, and felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to change everything. I picked up the grocery bag again. "Okay," I said. My father raised an eyebrow. "Okay, what?" "Starting today, I'll buy my own food." He smiled as if he had won. "Good." I nodded. "And I'll stop paying for anything else in this house too." His smile disappeared. I walked upstairs before anyone could answer. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed with my laptop open. For the first time in years, I opened my bank statements. Then I opened my payment history. Rent contribution, electric bill, water bill, mortgage assistance, groceries, Daniel's university tuition, my mother's dental procedure, the repair for my father's truck, insurance. There were hundreds of transactions, thousands of dollars. I scrolled through them until my eyes hurt. Then I whispered, "What have I been doing?" The answer was painful. I had been trying to earn a place in a family that had already decided I didn't belong. My parents had always treated Daniel differently. When we were children, Daniel got the bigger bedroom because he was the boy. When he wanted a car, my father helped him buy one. When he failed his first year of college, they called it a difficult period. When I got a scholarship, my father said, "Well, that's what you're supposed to do." When I worked nights while finishing university, my mother told me I was lucky to be independent. And when I moved back home temporarily after graduation because I was saving for my own apartment, my father started calling me a freeloader. Temporary became 6 years. 6 years because every time I tried to leave, someone needed something. The first time, my mother needed money for her surgery. The second time, my father said the mortgage was behind. The third time, Daniel needed tuition. Then came the roof repair. Then the business. Then the endless emergencies. Every time I was ready to leave, they reminded me that I was family. So I stayed. I gave. I swallowed my hurt. And I told myself that one day they would appreciate it. That night, I finally stopped waiting. The next morning, I bought groceries for one person. Mine. I kept them in a small refrigerator I had bought for my bedroom. When my mother saw it, she frowned. "What is that?" "My food." She stared at me. "You're being childish." "No. I'm listening to Dad." She sighed. "Your father didn't mean it like that." I looked at her. He was very clear. She lowered her voice. "Emma, his birthday is this weekend. Please don't create tension." I almost laughed. His birthday. Of course. For years, my father's birthday had been a family event. I usually spent weeks planning it. One year, I rented a private room at a restaurant. Another year, I bought him an expensive watch after working extra shifts for 2 months. Last year, I organized a surprise dinner at home and paid for everything. This year, my mother expected me to do the same. I smiled. Don't worry, Mom. I won't create tension. She looked relieved. She shouldn't have. Because that afternoon, I made one phone call. Not to a restaurant. Not to a bakery. Not to a florist. I called my accountant. Hi, Mark. I need every financial document connected to my parents' accounts. There was a pause. Everything. Everything. Are you sure? I looked through the glass of my bedroom window at my father washing his car. Yes. Do you want the transfers categorized? Yes. And I want to know exactly where my money has gone. Mark was quiet for a moment. Emma, I should tell you something. My stomach tightened. What? I found something unusual in the records. What kind of unusual? There are mortgage payments coming from an account you didn't know about. I sat up straight. What account? I can't discuss the other account without checking the authorization documents. Then check them. I'll need a little time. How much? Until tomorrow. I stared at my reflection in the dark computer screen. Tomorrow is fine. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next morning, Mark called. Emma, you need to come to my office. Why? Because I don't think you're going to believe me over the phone. I drove there during my lunch break. Mark had been my accountant for 4 years. He was not a dramatic man. He didn't exaggerate. But when I entered his office, he closed the door behind me. Then he placed a thick folder on the desk. Your parents have been telling you that the mortgage is behind, correct? Yes. They've also been telling you that your father's business is struggling. Yes. And that's why you've been transferring money every month. I nodded. Mark opened the folder. The mortgage is not behind. I stared at him. What? It was paid off nearly 3 years ago. My mouth went dry. That's impossible. He turned the paperwork toward me. The house was fully paid. 3 years ago. I looked at the date. Then at the amount. Then back at Mark. Where did my money go? He hesitated. That's the problem. He opened another document. Your parents weren't using your transfers for the mortgage. My hands started shaking. Then what were they using them for? Mark looked directly into my eyes. A second property. I couldn't speak. What second property? He slid a photograph across the desk. I picked it up. It showed a beautiful 2-story house with white columns, a wide driveway, and a large backyard. It looked nothing like my parents' modest home. Whose is this? Mark's voice became quieter. The legal owner is Daniel. My brother. I felt something cold move through my chest. No. I checked twice. No. Emma. No. Daniel doesn't own a house. Mark opened another page. Apparently he does. I stared at the documents. The property had been purchased 18 months earlier. The down payment had come from a joint account. My parents were listed as co-signers. And several of the payments matched the exact dates and amounts of transfers I had made to my parents. I felt sick. I had been paying for my brother's house. I slowly pushed the papers away. Why would they do this? Mark didn't answer. Maybe because he knew the answer was worse than the question. I thought about Daniel laughing in the kitchen. Buy your own food. Stop living off us. The irony almost made me smile. He wasn't just eating the food I bought. He was living in a house I had helped pay for. I drove home in silence. When I entered the house, my father was sitting in the living room watching television. He looked at me. Where have you been? Working. Did you buy groceries? Yes. For yourself? Yes. He nodded approvingly. Good. You're finally learning. I looked at him for several seconds. Then I smiled. Happy birthday, Dad. His birthday wasn't until Saturday. He frowned. Why are you saying that now? Just wanted to make sure I didn't forget. He laughed. You better not. Your mother has been planning my dinner. I nodded. I know. Then I walked upstairs. I closed my bedroom door. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't angry. I was calm. Because now I knew the truth. And my father's birthday was 3 days away. I opened my laptop and began making a list. Not of gifts. Not of decorations. Not of food. Names. Dates. Payments. Property records. Bank transfers. Every lie they had told me. Every sacrifice they had demanded from me. Every dollar they had taken. And at the very bottom of the page, I typed one sentence. This year, Dad gets exactly what he asked for. Nothing more. Nothing less. 3 days later, the entire family would sit around one table. And my father would finally discover what happens when the daughter he called a burden stops carrying everyone. Saturday arrived with a strange kind of silence. Usually my father's birthday began with me waking before everyone else, sneaking downstairs, preparing coffee, decorating the dining room, and making sure everything was perfect before he came out of his bedroom. This time, I stayed in bed. At 8:30, I heard my mother moving around downstairs. At 9, Daniel arrived. At 9:15, my father shouted from the hallway, "Emma, are you awake?" I opened my eyes and stared at the ceiling. Yes. You're not forgetting what today is, are you? I smiled. No, that. There was a pause. Good. His footsteps disappeared. I got dressed slowly. I wore a simple black blouse and jeans. No dress. No makeup beyond what I normally wore to work. I didn't carry a gift. When I entered the kitchen, my mother looked at me with disappointment. That's what you're wearing. I glanced down. Yes. It's your father's birthday. I know. Daniel was sitting at the table eating breakfast. He looked at my empty hands. Where's Dad's present? I didn't buy one. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. You didn't buy Dad anything? No. He looked at my mother. She looked at me. What happened to you? She whispered. I poured myself a cup of coffee. Nothing. Emma, this isn't like you. I know. My father entered the kitchen wearing a new shirt. He looked around. No decorations. No balloons. No cake. Nothing. His face tightened. What is this? I turned toward him. Good morning, Dad. He stared at me. Where's everything? What everything? My birthday. I almost smiled. It's still your birthday. You know what I mean. Yes. He looked at my mother. Did she say anything to you? My mother shook her head. Then my father looked back at me. You didn't plan anything? No. Why? I took a sip of coffee. Because you told me to buy my own food and stop living off you. His expression hardened. That was not about your birthday. I know. So I took your advice. Daniel laughed under his breath. My father pointed toward the dining room. At least we're having dinner tonight. I won't be there. My mother's face fell. What? I have plans. With who? With myself. Daniel snorted. My father stepped closer. Don't start this nonsense today. I'm not starting anything. You're trying to punish us. No. I looked directly into his eyes. I'm just no longer doing things I can't afford. You make good money. Ido. Then what is the problem? I smiled. The problem is that I finally checked where my money has been going. Silence. It was almost beautiful. My father's eyes shifted. Just for a second. But I saw it. He knew. Maybe not exactly what I knew, but he knew enough. My mother suddenly became interested in the coffee pot. Daniel stopped laughing. I placed my cup down. I'll see you tonight. My father frowned. You just said you weren't coming. I said I won't be attending dinner. Then why would you see us tonight? I smiled. You'll understand. I walked upstairs. At 10:30, I drove to Mark's office. He had prepared everything I asked for. Bank statements, transfer histories, property records, loan documents, emails. And one more thing. There's something else, he said. He handed me a printed email. I read it once. Then twice. It was from my father's business account. The subject line was simple. Transfer confirmation. The email showed that a large amount of money had been moved from the business account into the account used for Daniel's house. I looked at Mark. Did my father know I was paying this? Mark nodded. There are messages. What messages? He opened his computer. I read the conversation. My father had written, "She won't question it. Tell her the mortgage is behind again." My mother replied, "She'll want to see paperwork eventually." My father's response was, "She trusts us." I stopped breathing. I read the sentence again. She trusts us. Not, she's helping us. Not, we need her. She trusts us. That was what they had counted on. My trust. My guilt. My loyalty. They had turned every good thing about me into a weakness. Mark watched me carefully. "Do you want to report them?" I closed my eyes. For a moment, I imagined my father in handcuffs. My mother crying. Daniel losing the house. Part of me wanted exactly that. But another part of me knew something. I didn't want them destroyed. I wanted them exposed. There was a difference. "I don't want revenge that ruins their lives," I said. Mark nodded. "Then what do you want?" I looked at the folder. "I want them to live without me." He understood. "That may be harder than it sounds." "I know." I spent the next 3 hours making phone calls. First, I canceled every automatic payment connected to the family house. Then I removed myself as an emergency financial contact. I changed the passwords on accounts that belonged solely to me. I transferred my savings into a separate account. I contacted the landlord of a small apartment I had been considering for months. By 4 o'clock, I had signed the lease. I was moving out. Not tomorrow. Not next month. That evening, I returned home with my car packed. My mother was standing in the hallway when she saw the boxes. Her face went pale. "What are you doing?" "Moving." She stared at me. "Today?" "Yes." "Emma, please." "I've already signed the lease." She grabbed my arm. "Why are you doing this?" I gently pulled away. "Because Dad told me to stop living off you." Her eyes filled with tears. "You know he didn't mean it." "I know exactly what he meant." My father came out of the living room. "What is going on?" My mother turned toward him. "She's leaving." He looked at the boxes. Then at me. "Don't be ridiculous." "I'm not." "You're going to move out because of one stupid comment." "No." I looked at him. "I'm moving out because of 6 years of comments." His face changed. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done." He laughed bitterly. "Fine. Go. Let's see how long you last without us." I almost felt sorry for him. "You don't understand." "Understand what?" I picked up my keys. "You're the one who needs me." His smile disappeared. "Don't threaten me." "I'm not threatening you." I walked toward the door. "I'm informing you." Daniel suddenly appeared behind him. "Emma, what the hell?" I looked at my brother. "You should enjoy the house." He frowned. "What house?" I didn't answer. I walked outside. My father followed me onto the porch. "Come back here." I stopped. He was furious now. "You don't get to abandon your family." I turned around. "Dad, you taught me something." "What?" "That family isn't supposed to be a place where one person gives everything while everyone else takes." He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. I got into my car. As I drove away, I expected to feel devastated. Instead, I felt light. For the first time in 6 years, every dollar I earned belonged to me. Every hour belonged to me. Every decision belonged to me. And I had no idea how badly my family would need those things once I was gone. My new apartment was small. 1 bedroom. 1 bathroom. A tiny kitchen. A balcony overlooking a busy street. It wasn't luxurious. But when I placed my grocery bag on the counter, I smiled. This food was mine. No one could call me a freeloader for eating it. No one could tell me I owed them. I unpacked quietly. At 7:45 p.m. my phone rang. I didn't answer. She called again. Then again. Finally, a message appeared. "Please come home. Your father wants to talk." I stared at it. Then another message came. Something happened with the bank. My heart stopped for a moment. I called her. "What happened?" She started crying. "The mortgage company called." "What mortgage company?" "The house." I sat down. "What did they say?" "They said the automatic payment failed." I closed my eyes. I knew why. Because I had canceled it. Mom, the house isn't my responsibility anymore. I know, but your father says you have to fix it. No. He says you have the money. Ido. Then why won't you help? I swallowed. Because I was never helping with the mortgage. Silence. My mother stopped crying. What? The mortgage was already paid. Her breathing changed. Who told you? Mark. Another silence. Then I heard my father shouting in the background. What did she say? My mother didn't answer him. I continued. I know about Daniel's house. The line went completely silent. Then my mother whispered. Emma. I know about the transfers. She began crying again. I know about the emails. Please. I know Dad told you I trusted you. She didn't deny it. That hurt more than anything. My voice became quiet. How long? How long what? How long have you both been doing this? She sobbed. Your father handled everything. That's not an answer. I don't know. You do know. She was silent. Then she finally said, 2 years. I closed my eyes. 2 years. Not 6. Not the entire time. But long enough. Long enough for them to know exactly what they were doing. Long enough for them to keep smiling while I sacrificed everything. Then my mother said something that made my blood run cold. There's another thing you don't know. What? Your father didn't just use your money for Daniel's house. I stood up. What else did he do? She hesitated. He put your name on something. My stomach dropped. What did he put my name on? Before she could answer, I heard the sound of my father's voice behind her. Give me the phone. My mother gasped. The call ended. I stared at the screen. Then my phone rang again. This time it wasn't my mother. It was an unknown number. I answered. A man's voice said, Miss Carter? Yes. This is David from the bank's legal department. My heart began pounding. Why are you calling me? There's a financial document bearing your signature that requires immediate clarification. I sat down slowly. What document? There was a pause. A personal guarantee. For what? The business loan your father took out 18 months ago. I couldn't breathe. How much? The man gave me the amount. It was more money than I had ever seen in my entire life. And according to the bank, I was responsible for every cent. I looked around my tiny apartment. The groceries. The boxes. The little life I had just started. For the first time that day, I felt afraid. Not because my family had betrayed me, but because I realized they had been preparing for this moment long before I ever knew I needed to protect myself. I opened the folder Mark had given me. There was one document I hadn't looked at yet. I pulled it out. At the bottom was a signature. My signature. Except I had never signed it. I stared at the page until the letters blurred. Then I noticed the date. The same day I had been working a double shift. The same day my father had called me crying about the mortgage. The same day I had transferred them another payment. I slowly smiled. Because there was something my father had forgotten. I kept my work schedules. And that night, for the first time, I realized his biggest mistake wasn't stealing from me. It was assuming I would never fight back. I barely slept that night. By sunrise, I had made one decision. I wasn't going to scream at my father. I wasn't going to threaten Daniel. And I wasn't going to walk into that house demanding an apology. I was going to let the truth speak for me. At 7 in the morning, I called Mark. I need every document connected to that guarantee. I already sent you copies. I need the originals. There was a pause. I thought you might say that. Can you get them? Yes. But Emma, if your signature was forged, this is serious. I know. And you should not contact your father until we know exactly what happened. I wasn't planning to. That was the first time I followed advice from someone outside my family. By noon, Mark had found the original loan application. The signature looked like mine. Almost perfect. But there was one problem. The bank had required the document to be signed in person. And I had been at work that entire afternoon. I pulled up my employee records. My time card showed I had clocked in at 1:57 p.m. The loan document claimed I had signed it at 2:30 p.m. There was no way I could have been at the bank. Then Mark found something even better. A security camera still from the bank. My father had been there. With Daniel. Not me. I stared at the image. My father was holding the exact folder containing the loan documents. Daniel was standing beside him. My hands went cold. They did this together. Mark nodded. It appears that way. I looked at the photograph again. For years, I had believed Daniel was simply spoiled. I had convinced myself that he didn't know how much our parents sacrificed to support him. Now I realized he knew. Maybe not every detail, but enough. I called the bank's legal department. I dispute the guarantee. The representative sounded professional. Do you have evidence? Yes. What kind? Employment records, bank security footage, and financial records showing that I never authorized the loan. Can you provide those? Yes. Then we'll place the guarantee under investigation. I exhaled. Thank you. When I hung up, I expected relief. Instead, I felt sadness. Because I knew what would happen next. The bank would contact my father. And he would panic. I didn't have to wait long. At 3:18 p.m., my phone rang. Dad. I watched it vibrate. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. What? His voice was shaking. What did you do? I looked out the window. Nothing. You went to the bank. Yes. You challenged the loan. Yes. Why would you do that? I almost laughed. Because I never signed it. You know damn well you did. No, that. My voice was calm. You know damn well I didn't. He became silent. Then he lowered his voice. Emma, listen to me. I've listened to you for 29 years. Your mother and I made mistakes. You forged my name. We were trying to protect the family. No. I closed my eyes. You were trying to protect yourselves. That's not fair. Neither was stealing from me. We needed the money. You had a paid-off house. He said nothing. You had my money. Silence. You had Daniel's house. Still nothing. And you had me believing I was the problem. His breathing became heavier. Please come home. No. Emma, please. That word stopped me. My father had never said please to me. Not once. What do you want? I want to explain. You've had 6 years to explain. I'll tell you everything. I stared at the wall. Fine. When? Tonight. I hesitated. Public place. What? I'm not coming to the house. He sighed. Fine. We agreed to meet at a small cafe. When I arrived, my father was already there. He looked older than he had a week ago. His shoulders were bent. His hands trembled slightly. For a moment, I saw the father I remembered from childhood. The man who used to carry me on his shoulders. The man who taught me how to ride a bicycle. Then I remembered the documents. I sat across from him. Talk. He looked down. The business was failing. I know. Your mother didn't know at first. But she knew eventually. He nodded. Daniel had already invested money into the new property. I stared at him. You mean the house I paid for? He swallowed. Yes. Why? Because I thought the business would recover. And when it didn't, I borrowed money. With my name. I intended to pay it back. You forged my signature. I had no choice. I leaned back. There is always a choice. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. You don't understand what it's like to watch everything you've built disappear. I felt my anger rise. And you don't understand what it's like to spend years building something for people who secretly destroy it. He looked away. I pulled a folder from my bag. I have evidence. His face went pale. I know about the bank footage. His eyes closed. I know Daniel was there. He whispered. He didn't know what I was doing. Then why was he there? He knew I was taking the loan. I nodded. I thought so. He was scared. So was I. My father reached across the table. Please don't destroy your brother. I pulled my hand away. I'm not destroying anyone. What are you going to do? I'm going to stop protecting you. His eyes filled with tears. What does that mean? It means the truth goes where it needs to go. He shook his head. Emma, we're family. I looked at him. That word doesn't mean what you think it means anymore. I stood up. He grabbed my wrist. Please. I gently pulled free. You told me to buy my own food. He looked confused. What? You told me to stop living off you. I smiled sadly. So I did. I walked away. The investigation took 3 weeks. During that time, everything unraveled. The bank confirmed that I had not signed the guarantee. The business loan became my father's responsibility. The property records revealed that Daniel had received financial benefits from the same funds. The automatic payments stopped. The truth reached relatives who had spent years believing I was the selfish daughter who refused to help her parents. One aunt called me, then another, then cousins. Some apologized. Some defended my father. I answered none of them. For the first time, I didn't feel responsible for controlling everyone's opinion of me. Daniel eventually came to my apartment. He stood outside for almost 10 minutes before I opened the door. He looked exhausted. I didn't know everything, he said. I know. I thought Dad was borrowing money for the business. You knew about the house. He looked down. Yes. You knew I was helping pay for it. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? He swallowed. Because I was afraid you'd stop. That sentence hurt more than anything else. I nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me the truth. He looked surprised. That's it. No. I closed the door. Behind it, I leaned against the wall and cried. Not because I wanted him back. Because I finally understood how deeply I had been used. Months passed. My father sold the second property. The business was downsized. Daniel moved into a small apartment and found a job. My mother began working part-time. They survived. Not comfortably. Not luxuriously. But they survived. And I never sent another dollar. At first, everyone called me cruel. Then something strange happened. They became independent. My mother learned to manage her own expenses. Daniel learned what it meant to work for something. My father finally understood that his business wasn't entitled to my paycheck. And I learned something too. I learned that boundaries aren't punishments. Sometimes they're the only way to find out who people really are. Nearly a year after that birthday, my mother invited me to dinner. I agreed. When I arrived, the house looked different. Smaller somehow. My father opened the door. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said something I never expected. I'm sorry. I didn't answer immediately. He continued. I was wrong about you. My throat tightened. I know. No. I mean it. He looked down. I spent years calling you dependent because I couldn't admit how dependent we were on you. I let the words settle. Then he smiled faintly. Your mother made the food. I smiled. Did you buy it? He laughed. Yes. With your own money? Yes. I walked into the kitchen. There was a small table set for 4. Nothing expensive. Nothing elaborate. Just food. Bought honestly. Earned honestly. My mother hugged me. Daniel came in a few minutes later. We sat down together. For the first time, nobody expected me to pay. Nobody asked me for money. Nobody reminded me that I owed the family something. We simply ate. Halfway through dinner, my father looked at me. You know, he said. I still remember what I told you on my birthday. I smiled. So do I. I wish I could take it back. You can't. I know. I looked around the table. But you can make sure you never say it again. He nodded. I won't. And somehow that was enough. I never got revenge by destroying my father. I didn't need to. I simply stopped financing the version of our family that depended on my silence. The greatest revenge wasn't watching him struggle. It was watching him finally become responsible for his own life. And the greatest thing I ever bought with my own money wasn't a house, a car, or anything expensive. It was a tiny apartment with a tiny kitchen and a refrigerator filled with food that belonged only to me. Because every time I opened that refrigerator, I remembered the girl standing in that old kitchen, holding a grocery bag while her father told her she was a burden. She thought losing her family would destroy her. She was wrong. Walking away didn't destroy me. It gave me back to myself.